Executive Director of the Noah Webster House in West Hartford Historical Society. I know we've all been stuck inside for the last few weeks and we have a few more weeks to go. So one of the things we thought we could do is give you a little armchair history tour of West Hartford. And I'm starting here at something that's probably not all that hidden history. This is the sculpture by Korzcak Ziolkowski of our favorite guy, Noah Webster. And probably many of you have walked by this sculpture and you've seen it many times, but you might not know much about it. So I'm going to give you a little history of this sculpture today. First of all, Korzcak Ziolkowski was an artist. He moved to West Hartford around 1930, and he had already worked on Mount Rushmore, and so he was an established sculptor. He actually had rented a house in West Hartford on Sedgwick Road with his wife. And this was really the first time he became acquainted with Noah Webster. He visited Noah Webster's house, which at that time was actually a private residence. It didn't become a museum until about 1965. And he was really inspired by Noah Webster's contribution to our nation. Of course, Noah Webster created the American English that we use today, and his blueback speller taught millions of Americans how to be American in a time when our nation was just forming. So Korzcak Ziolkowski really believed that there should be some kind of monument erected in Noah Webster's honor. So he had a proposal that he brought to the town, and that idea was that he would create a sculpture of Noah Webster if the town was able to supply the money for the materials. He would donate his services to the sculpting. So a fundraising effort began. There are stories of children going door to door, collecting coins. Over 7,000 residents actually contributed to the sculpture. Cost a little over $16,000 to make, and this was in 1941. So in 1941, Korzcak Ziolkowski starts his work on this sculpture. It wasn't located where we are standing today, which is kind of at the foot of, or the head, I guess, of the back square. It was about several hundred yards south from here, closer to the corner of Memorial Road and South Main Street. Now, when he started this project, he had this huge block of marble, and many spectators would gather to watch him sculpting. There could be as many as 1,000 spectators watching him on any given day. But he quickly kind of got into an argument with the town of West Hartford. There were two things that really bothered people about Korzcak Ziolkowski's work. First of all, Connecticut still very much was adhering to the blue laws, which didn't really allow businesses or major activities to happen on Sundays, and Korzcak Ziolkowski continued to sculpt on Sundays. The second thing he did is he often sculpted shirtless. Now, this was the summer months of 1941, so it was hot out and he was keeping comfortable, but many people objected to the fact that he was stripped down to the waist. I do have a picture of Korzcak sculpting shirtless that I will post on our Facebook page so that you can determine for yourself whether or not this was appropriate. So he had a contentious relationship with the town, but he did continue, and the sculpture was completed and unveiled to commemorate Noah Webster's 183rd birthday, which was October 16th, 1941. There was something that Korzcak Ziolkowski engraved on the front of the sculpture. There's a book in front of the sculpture, and you can barely read it, but what I'll do is I'll post on our Facebook page the inscription. But the inscription kind of troubled some of the West Hartford residents. They felt like he was kind of one-upping them and kind of criticizing them for the barriers they were trying to put up to him completing his work. Another issue with this sculpture is that you may notice that Noah Webster's outstretched hand is missing a finger. Apparently, from about the moment this sculpture was created, it became a student prank to take the finger off. So more often than not, when you see this sculpture, and I often look at pictures from historical pictures and postcards of this object, and many times the finger is missing, more often than not. In fact, just several years ago, the finger went missing, and a local boy found it in the cemetery. And of course, not knowing what this weird little marble object was, he put two and two together and figured out that this was actually the finger that was missing from the sculpture. So I'm going to do my little public service announcement and tell you students, please do not destroy Noah Webster's finger. If it ever comes back on, I think he's suffered enough. You can just let him be intact. So the marble sculpture overall has really stood the test of time. It's been here as a fixture in West Hartford for 80 years. When Blueback Square was developed in 2008, the sculpture was moved to this more central location. As we said, it's kind of like the gateway to Blueback Square at the top of the stairs. It's also very close to the Noah Webster Library. And I encourage you, the next time you're walking through the center, keep your distance from people, but you can get pretty close to Noah since he's a sculptor. You can walk around and read the inscriptions, and they talk about all the different notable things that Noah Webster did. To finish up, I'll tell you a little bit more about Korzcak Ziolkowski. I had said that he had worked on Mount Rushmore. He actually left West Hartford to join World War II, and after the war, he actually was commissioned to work on something called Crazy Horse, which is a major sculpture in South Dakota. He spent the next 36 years working on that. It's still not finished, but his family is carrying it on. And so it's really neat that we have such a famous sculptor who has national fame, who actually created our own West Hartford sculpture. And so we're really lucky. I hope you learned a little bit about West Hartford history today, and look for us next Wednesday at a new spot to learn more about what our town has to offer. Thank you.